India's market news headquarters. Cutting-edge analysis. Influential insights. Market-moving intelligence. Broadcasting live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. We are coming to you live as always from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios, and it is decision time. The US elections, the American voters have put their ballots in, and those are now being counted. And over the next couple of hours, we will have the final tally and who gets to occupy the White House for the next 4 years. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Surabhi and Nigel. Guys, hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I think we've managed a fair bit of red, blue and white in the studio and, on ourselves in person as well. But yeah, it's that big day, and you can see the leads ahead of us. It's still pretty early, and this was always going to be a very close election. So let's wait. This is just very, very early trends that are coming through. But we have so much to cover. Whatever it is, I think the markets will want to hope that at least there's clarity, over the next 6 hours, this becomes clear. So the event is done, and you can move on to the next.
Well, and getting into the event, the bulls seem to have fought back. So we'll have to see how much of the good news, so to call it, has played out. So we'll wait for the result. I think Prashant tells us by 10 a.m. we should have better clarity.
Yeah, I think the markets will, there are two things. One is when will we know the result? And the second is when will markets trade the result? I think the second one, which is when will markets trade? And when I say markets trade, mostly it's Forex. It's not equities in that sense. Really, if you go back to 2020, 2016, it's currency pairs which trade. The CNH, the Mexican peso, especially if Trump comes.
Yes.
But I think markets will trade it very quickly. But we may still be, I don't know, if it's a contested election, the actual official result in terms of, the authorities, they're saying, well, this is the winner. We don't know. It may be 6 hours out, it may be 6 days out. But in any case, markets are really trading as if it's Trump 2.0. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think, the one thing you got to look at is the dollar index. And the dollar index is up about 0.75% this morning. Last night, it was down about nearly 0.4%. It's flipped higher once again, stronger, which essentially means that everything else on the other side is actually even stronger now, 0.83%. So that's, and by the way, usually I complain that it's not a correct measure to assess dollar strength because so much of the dollar index is made up by the euro. But I think today this is a good sort of measure to look at things, to assess what the market is pricing in. Because Trump 2.0 would also mean, slightly more negative for the euro region, and hence the currency perhaps should also be affected. So it's a strong move coming in on the dollar euros, which means that, the Mexican peso is down at a 2-year low. You've got other currencies, the euro, which is, of course, getting crushed as well as the dollar continues to rise. But as the results keep coming in, let me quickly once again put some basic numbers. And this is the broad framework that you need to go with. And we put this out 2 days back as well. This is very simply put what you need to look at. Donald Trump needs 51 electoral votes to win, to get to 270. 270 is the halfway mark. Total electoral votes is 538. The safe seats are 219 for Donald Trump. Basically, these are seats which have always historically voted Republican. For Kamala Harris, it is 226, which is historically always voted Democrat. So, that's a starting point. And then from there to get to 270, it's 51 more for Donald Trump and it's 44 for Kamala Harris. And I think that's the basic math you need to remember without going into too many specifics, really. The reason the reason swing states become very important is because of this, because you've got a certain number of seats which are already assigned to Republicans and Democrats and then probably vote that way. So the undecided states become very important. And these are what are called swing states. And these are the ones which are up on your screen. North Carolina, Georgia. I think results are coming in from, early indications are coming in from Georgia and Trump is ahead. Arizona, Wisconsin. There is Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan. Pennsylvania, of course, is the most important because it's got the most number of electoral votes, 19 electoral votes. And I think as this starts to come in, it'll become clearer and clearer. The election result becomes clearer and clearer. Okay, I'll not go too much into what happens if Trump wins or Harris wins and implications. I'll just stick to the price action from yesterday because that we will discuss when it finally actually happens. Yesterday, we saw a very sharp bounce back. And I said this yesterday as well. I think markets finally showing some potential signs of reversal. So what do we watch from here? Basically, whether the fall from the all-time highs from September is over or are we close to the bottom? So 23,800 is that level, which I think the market wants to respect. It's always, probabilities. What's the probability of the market bottoming out around these levels? I would say more than sort of 50-60% at this stage. Key resistance levels for the Nifty to take out: 24,591, which is the 20-day moving average, and 24,571, which is the 40-day moving average. And these are markers. You go step by step, and above these levels, if the market starts to trade, it is a good news. 23,816, which is the recent low, should be defended if some of this has to play out, if the market indeed has bottomed out. Nifty Bank bounced sharply higher yesterday. Actually, the bounce back from the lows was even sharper for the Nifty Bank as compared to the Nifty. Here, look for the Nifty Bank to take out the high of 52,577. And on the way down, the trendline support comes in at 50,470. So these are indications both on the upside and the downside for the Nifty Bank. GIFT Nifty will come up on your screen, giving you a sense of how we are likely to start. Absolutely flat. So, I said holding pattern yesterday in the morning, and today, this morning, it's kind of indicating nothing on it at all. Surabhi.
Oh, yes, absolutely. The bulls will really be extremely happy if they can build on yesterday's move. And if you go by what's happening in global markets and whatever the markets are pricing in right now, that big bull move is still well and truly on. Because yesterday itself, Wall Street was rallying between 1% to about 2% and the smaller caps, the broader market in the US did even better because the Russell 2000 was up about 2%, outpacing the kind of gains we saw on the Dow and the Nasdaq. In fact, just to put the last 1 month in context, it's been the story of the broader market in the US as well. The Dow has been more narrow, 0.5% gain. S&P 500 is up 1.5%. The tech move obviously has continued, 3% up on the Nasdaq, and the broader market has done even better. By the way, I was looking at Wall Street futures right now, and once again, the Russell is putting on 2%, and I think Dow futures are up another 400 points. Not just that, look at what's happening to the 10-year yield as we speak. Last I checked, I think it's crossed 4.4 if I'm not mistaken, which is a massive, massive move on rates. We'll just pull up the US 10-year if we can get it on the screen. 4.42 is what you've got. That's a 3% massive move on the yield. And I guess the bond market is also now beginning to look at a very real possibility of Mr. Trump coming back to the House. We know that, his policies are probably going to be, spiraling more deficits because there is a lot of talk of spending, and maybe that's exactly what the yield is right now representing. So big move on the dollar, like Prashant said, and an even bigger move on the yields right now. Markets across the board, positioning for that Trump sweep. Let's see if it goes that way, but that's the market mood, at least right now. Over to Asia very quickly. Even here, the color broadly is green across most of the markets, and Nikkei is surging. Japanese markets up about 2%, and you're seeing some gains across Shanghai. Hong Kong actually is cooling off. Hong Kong's down about 1%, and you know why, right? We're talking about tariff wars becoming a real possibility if Mr. Trump comes back into power, which brings me to the broad two questions which the market has. And the two questions are, will the world move away from geopolitical physical wars to tariff wars if this is a Trump sweep? That's, question number one. And if it's Harris, if somehow the U.S. manages to see its first lady president come through, then will Wall Street be able to digest the fact that taxes could move higher? Because in terms of economic policy, that's the big sort of talking point. Let's see, we'll have the answers. Just very quickly to come back to, the domestic market action. We had a lot of FPI selling reducing yesterday. Just put the numbers on the screen. The selling was less than 2,600 crores, so that was the good news. Domestic institutions are buying almost 3,000 crores. And of course, there are lots of results to go over. Titan's not that great. Berger's not that great. Reddy was in line. So we'll talk about it. And let's not forget, there is a Swiggy IPO opening out as well. So let's see if the market has the appetite for this 11,300 crore rupee issue that opens out.
Well, that's right. And yesterday's trading session was actually a good one because of a few factors. One was the institutions. Well, the net bought closed on 450 crores. That's good news. The other factors that we highlighted at the start of the series, the Nifty open interest is much lighter in comparison to the previous series. So positioning was rather light on the Nifty futures itself. And the shorts, they got squeezed out on the Nifty bank itself. So let's start off with the third point then. In yesterday's trading session, you had the Nifty that was surging away and the open interest was down by close to around 10%. So clearly there was a big short covering bounce that took place out there. And with that kind of a squeeze, the Nifty took out the 20, the 100 as well as the 50 DMA, all of them in one trading session itself. So some of those resistance levels were taken out. Well, yesterday after a while, we saw that the FIs, they added more longs than short positions and they added in the ratio of close to around 3 longs for every 1 short position. And you pull up the percentage as well, they continue to remain net short, but now the long positioning has moved up from around 22% just on Thursday, that is at the start of the series, to around 27% odd. So some higher long addition is what we have seen in the last few days. The question is, has the Nifty made a double bottom at around the 23,800 mark? Last 2 sessions, we have gone to that mark and we've seen a bit of a bounce. So the 23,800 mark is extremely crucial. There is a lot of talk that we could go down to visit that 200 DMA, which now is at around the 23,500 odd mark. So that's going to be important. If we have made a double bottom, then we need to take out the resistance levels, which comes in at around the 25,500 odd, which is very important. The 20 DMA is at that mark. And if we can get past that, then we'll be looking at life beyond the 25,000 odd mark. But for right now, the 24,550 mark is crucial. The Nifty bank, well, it took out those crucial levels yesterday. Now the resistance becomes a support, so the 51,500 mark is important. For today's session, we'll have the weekly expiry as well that will be playing out, so we'll keep an eye out on that. And HDFC Bank, very, very important. We'll need to keep an eye out on HDFC Bank. Yesterday, it went closer to the 20 DMA as well as the 50 DMA, which comes in at around 1,690, 1,700, and from there we bounce. That could be the leader from here on if it can get past that 1,800 odd mark. MSCI reval as well. So keep an eye out on HDFC Bank.
All right, Nigel, we will and keep an eye out on some of these cues as we look into market open at 9:15. But